I beat the woman I loved more than life itself and turned myself into the police. All because, in my last life, my wife's crush, her longtime secret infatuation, came back into her life after getting divorced. First, he had an emotional breakdown and smashed up a Tiffany store, then lost control of her car while fleeing the scene, causing a massive multi-car pileup. Later, the Tiffany store manager and the driver both came to me and firmly claimed I was the one who did it. I tried desperately to prove my innocence, but every piece of surveillance footage showed my face. Even my wife insisted it was a depressive episode that made me do something so terrible. I was stabbed to death on the spot by a victim's family member. Then, I opened my eyes, back on the night before my wife's crush went on a rampage at Tiffany. Chapter 1. I dumped my battered, bruised wife at the ER entrance, with my cold attitude and her body covered in wounds of all sizes. No one was buying the "she just fell" excuse. Just then, 2 police officers walked in. Who called the police? I immediately raised my hands and held them out to the officers. I did. Arrest me. I'm the one who beat her. She's in the emergency room right now. The cops gave me a startled look, confirmed the situation with the nurses, and took me straight to the station. The moment Christiana, my wife, came out of the ER, she posted bail for me. I really just fell. It has nothing to do with my husband. I stiffened my neck and said, "You fell? Then how do you explain the whip marks?" Christiana glared at me, furious. "Romeo, are you insane? I'm trying to save you." I stayed unmoved. I hurt someone. I deserve punishment. That's the way it should be. Christiana trembled with rage, but no matter how she pleaded, I stuck to my story that I had deliberately assaulted her. Since I turned myself in and showed genuine remorse, the officers only detained me for 5 days. Christiana could do nothing but let the nurses wheel her back to the hospital, but in that jail cell, I felt a peace I'd never known before. In this life, maybe I can finally avoid what happened last time. In my previous life, my wife's true love, James, got divorced and moved back to this city. The moment he reappeared, Christiana's heart drifted. She practically stopped coming home at night. While I was strapped to a chair getting electroshock therapy in a back alley clinic, James gave her a call, and she rushed off without hesitation. "James is drunk. I'll go pick him up real quick, then come back for you." But she forgot to turn off the machine before leaving. I was electrocuted, screaming in agony for the entire day. It took me 2 full days at home to recover some strength. Just as I was about to confront Christiana for an explanation, James went berserk and trashed the Tiffany store. Then he sped through downtown at 200 kilometers per hour, rear-ending 20 cars. I tried to talk sense into him, told him to surrender, offered to sell the house and the car to help pay for damages. But James just sneered and said, "You were the one who ran from the scene. You smashed up the store. What's that got to do with me? Why should I sell anything?" Then Christiana tossed a divorce agreement in my face, the one she'd tricked me into signing long ago, and said coldly, "Romeo, we've been divorced for ages. You go to prison on your own. The car and the house, they were always mine. Don't even think about touching them." I was dumbfounded. James was the one who committed the crimes. Why was I the one taking the fall? But one by one, the Tiffany store manager and all the car accident victims came to me, demanding compensation. They even produced security footage, and the face in the video was unmistakably mine. Chapter 2. The evidence is solid. "Romeo, you still trying to weasel out of this? Pay up already. Over 20 traffic accidents. Not even your life is enough to pay it back." I stared at the surveillance footage showing my face, utterly baffled. I knew I didn't do it, so why was it my face on that screen? But this time around, I wasn't going to let history repeat itself. 5 days later, I was finally released from the police station. Before I could even take a breath of fresh air, someone suddenly grabbed my arm. The man was fuming, spitting curses as he snarled, "You bastard, because of you, my wife's still in the hospital. I'll beat you to death right here." He lunged at me, trying to yank me by the collar, but I reacted fast and stepped back in time. A crowd had somehow gathered, faces filled with hostility, like they couldn't wait to tear me apart. "Murderer, Romeo, you killer. Quit faking it already. Depression, my ass. You trashed a luxury boutique and then sped through the city going 200 kilometers per hour. Are you trying to die?" The mention of 200 in the city made more bystanders stop and stare. Some even started live streaming. Faced with the aggressive crowd, I clenched my fists. I had already turned myself in this lifetime. Why won't they let me go? But I quickly calmed myself and said loudly, "You're all just making stuff up. These are baseless accusations." The guy live streaming scoffed and pulled out another phone. He tapped open a video and shoved it at me. "Making stuff up? See for yourself." In the video, my mother and I entered the luxury boutique. After browsing for a while, a minor argument broke out. Suddenly, I lost control and smashed a display case with my phone. My mother tried to restrain me, screaming, "Romeo, stop, please stop, we can't afford this." But the me in the video had a cold, blank expression. I even kicked my mother to the ground. She clutched her chest on the floor, yelling. That's my son Romeo. He has depression. He can't control himself. My heart sank like a stone. In my last life, it was Christiana who screamed I had depression in front of the Tiffany store. But this time, I'd already hospitalized Christiana on day 1 and laid low in the police station for 5 days. Yet the one screaming about my depression, calling out my name, was my own mother. How did it end up like this? Now you can't deny it, can you? The luxury boutique incident had already gone viral days ago. Now that the suspect was found, the live stream exploded straight onto the trending charts. I stared at the screen expressionlessly, eyes locked onto my own face. The boutique manager shoved a bill in my face, chest heaving with fury. You trashed 3 display cases that day. The jewelry was damaged, some of it limited editions. The total is 5 million. Some of those pieces were one of a kind. Now they're ruined because of you. One of the accident victims added furiously. My wife's 3 months pregnant. Your reckless driving scared her so bad. She's still in the hospital trying to keep the baby, and you had the nerve to flee the scene. Now that I've got you, you're coming with me straight to the cops. He grabbed my arm to drag me toward the police station. Exactly. People like you deserve the death penalty. Zero leniency. The man's shout stirred the crowd. Everyone was out for blood. I struggled free and shouted, calm down. I'm telling you, I didn't do any of this. The store manager snorted. Your mom screamed your name in front of everyone. How could it not be you? I started explaining. It wasn't me, it was James. He's my wife's side piece. Ask her if you don't believe me. He's the one who trashed the store. He's the one who sped through the city. 200 kilometers per hour wasn't me. As I was earnestly trying to explain to the crowd, pain suddenly exploded across my cheek. Christiana had appeared out of nowhere and slapped me hard across the face. Chapter 3. You're still trying to pin this on James. You really haven't changed at all. After everything you've done, you still show no remorse. Just admit what you did and apologize already. As she spoke, she tried to force my head down to make me kneel. I broke free with all my strength and shouted. I didn't do it, why should I apologize? Just then, James peeked out from behind her, looking oh so wronged. Romeo, what happened to you? Christiana's done nothing but care about you. She even ended up in the hospital because of you. And now she's still worried. She just wants you to come clean and get a lighter sentence. His words hit the crowd right in the feels. Their eyes on me turned even colder, more judgmental. The comments in the live stream exploded with rage. Someone even doxed me and leaked my address. I stared at James and shot back. If I said I didn't do it, why are you so worked up? Christiana raised her hand again to slap me, but this time I caught it midair. I looked at her coldly. I told you, James is the one who did all of this. What are you trying to do? Torture me into confessing? Now that I'd turned the spotlight on him, James cried out indignantly. Romeo, how can you slander me like this? Yeah, I admit, Christiana and I were close once, but that's just childhood friends. We grew up together. To avoid making you feel insecure, I even moved to another city. I've put up with you all these years, not because I was afraid of you, but because I didn't want to trigger your condition. Romeo, come on, let it go. His overly dramatic performance only made everyone around me even more disgusted. The live stream chat lit up with sarcastic banter. Comment, I swear this guy's mental issues are all self-inflicted. Paranoid much, he thinks everyone's after his girl. Comment, people try to help him and he lashes out. What a lunatic. Comment, I swear, his future son will be born without an asshole. Seeing the ridicule online, Christiana got even angrier. She kicked me hard behind the knee. Apologize. Now. Then my mother appeared. She looked at me with eyes full of disappointment. Romeo, turn yourself in. We went to Tiffany's together yesterday. Others might not know what happened, but I'm your mother. Don't think I wouldn't recognize my own son. Christiana held down my leg as the crowd closed in, all shouting and cursing me. One especially angry onlooker even threw a rotten egg at me. It exploded on impact, splattering foul-smelling yolk all over my head. Finally, the commotion caught a nearby police officer's attention. Enough, everyone, stop. He quickly stepped in to separate me from the mob. When he saw me clearly, he froze for a moment before sternly asking, Romeo, why aren't you home? You just got out, what are you doing causing trouble again? I instinctively shrank back and grabbed his hand. Officer, thank God you're here. Please help me. The accident victim snorted. Help you? You're scum. Society would be better off without you. Christiana sighed. Romeo, just turn yourself in. Maybe the court will go easier on you. The officer looked confused. He scanned the crowd and finally realized something wasn't adding up. You've only been out for a few minutes. What did you do this time? Ignoring their stares, I took a deep breath and calmly said, they're accusing me of smashing up Tiffany's yesterday. A luxury boutique. No less. I don't even have the nerve to step foot in a place like that. And they're saying I was street racing at 200 kilometers per hour in the city. Look at them. They tracked me down immediately, demanding answers. The officer muttered in disbelief. No way that was you. The crowd looked around at each other, confused and uneasy. Christiana suddenly shrieked. What did you do to make even the police cover for you? You destroyed millions worth of jewelry, wrecked all those cars, and even caused injuries, maybe deaths, and you still dare ask for protection. Chapter 4. A wave of voices echoed in unison, and within seconds, someone shoved their live streaming phone right into the officer's face. The comment section exploded, with people accusing the cop and me of having some shady deal. The officer saw the barrage of accusations and his expression darkened. What kind of nonsense are you all spouting? Romeo's been at the station these past days, following all the reform protocols. How could he be the one doing all this on the outside? The crowd froze. Even the chat feed in the live stream paused for a moment, then blew up even more. Comment, so let me get this straight, Romeo's been locked up for 5 days, but somehow he was still the one smashing up the boutique and running people over yesterday. Comment, what? Does he have a clone? The victims who had come to confront me started hesitating. I slowly stood up and spoke sincerely. Everyone, I don't know why my face is on the footage, but I swear, at that exact time yesterday, I was at the police station the whole time. I never left. Then someone in the live stream suggested maybe the video had been doctored. The boutique owner was the first to jump in. Impossible. That's surveillance from my own store. But to get to the bottom of it, the officer called in a tech team to analyze the footage, and the results shocked everyone. The footage was real, and so was the face in it, mine. The murmurs broke out again among the crowd. Christiana, her face still twisted and bruised, darted her eyes around and suddenly had a brilliant idea. That's him. I've slept next to Romeo for years. I'd know him anywhere. He must have snuck out somehow. He has depression. Maybe he had an episode in the station, got sent to the hospital, and slipped away from there. James jumped in like clockwork, gasping theatrically. That's it. Romeo used to pull this all the time, pretend he was unwell, get admitted, and then vanish. Officer, you've got all the proof you need. Arrest him already. The mob, emboldened by their shared theory, found their scapegoat again and chanted, lock him up. The officer's face turned grim. Romeo never left the facility. He was never taken to the hospital. He had barely finished that confident statement when another officer walked over, looking uncomfortable. Yesterday, Romeo said he wasn't feeling well. We were worried he might have an episode. So, yeah, we did take him to the hospital. The moment he said it, James practically shouted in triumph. You see, I told you. Give him the death penalty already. Even the officer's gaze toward me shifted. I looked at them pleadingly. Officer, please, you know I didn't do any of this. I was already in custody 5 days ago. Sure, I went to the hospital yesterday, but you were with me the entire time. The officer dropped his voice and looked away. During your urology exam, I didn't go in with you. James seized the moment. Exactly. Romeo must have slipped away during the checkup. That hospital is right near Tiffany's. Come clean now and they might go easy on you. James was putting on a show, like he was trying to save me from myself. The livestream chat gushed about what a noble guy he was. Comment, James is a saint. I'd have let him rot. Comment, Romeo's a wreck and James still cares about him. Man, that's loyalty. The crowd surged forward again, louder and more hostile. They shoved me around, some even threw punches. I stumbled through them like a leaf in the wind, face now marked with bruises. And yet, I smiled. Not because I'd lost it, but because I knew James wouldn't let me off that easily. And of course, I came prepared. Stop. I can prove Romeo didn't do any of this. The moment I heard that voice, my smile widened. The person I'd been waiting for had finally arrived. Chapter 5. A plainly dressed man pushed through the crowd and walked straight up to me. What are you all doing? Accusing someone without a shred of real evidence. What kind of justice is that? The boutique manager standing at the front scowled and snapped. Who says we don't have evidence? And who even are you? What business is this of yours? Once he spoke up, the crowd jumped on the bandwagon and turned their anger toward the newcomer. Just as the curses were about to drown us both, the car crash victim suddenly yelled, "Make way." Then, to everyone's surprise, he warmly grabbed the man's hands. Reporter Hahn, what are you doing here? The crowd stared in confusion, not understanding why the guy who had been so fired up a moment ago was now treating this man with such respect. He quickly explained. This is Reporter Hahn. He was the first one to arrive at the scene yesterday. My wife was heavily pregnant, and it was thanks to him that I got her to the hospital in time to save the baby. And he brought a medical team too. That's the only reason we ended up with 0 fatalities, even though more than 20 cars were wrecked. Hearing this, the crowd's tone shifted. Everyone looked at Reporter Hahn with newfound admiration. Even the live stream blew up with praise. Comment, now that's a real hero. Comment, but why would a hero defend a guy like Romeo? People at the scene started voicing the same doubt. Reporter Hahn, you came at the perfect time. Expose this guy already. But when reporter Han stepped protectively in front of me like a hen shielding her chick, people's expressions changed. Reporter Han, you're a good man, but why are you defending Romeo? Did he buy you off too? You must not know, he caused that wreck yesterday. If it weren't for him, none of those people would have been hurt. Exactly. Look at him now, totally unfazed, like he doesn't even care, smiling like nothing happened. Truth was, ever since reporter Han arrived, I'd finally been able to relax a little, but I wasn't smiling the way they thought I was. Then, suddenly, thud. Christiana dropped to her knees in front of me. Honey, I'm begging you, just admit it already. I know I didn't care about you enough. I'll make it up to you, but please, just do your time in prison. The live stream chat melted with sympathy and turned vicious toward me. Comment, even his wife is begging. This guy's a monster. In the midst of the noise, reporter Han shouted, enough. Everything fell silent. Romeo didn't smash up that store. He didn't cause that crash either. The boutique manager immediately objected. How could that be? The surveillance footage is crystal clear. Reporter Han replied firmly. You've got evidence. So do I. More than one piece. In fact, and I've been with Romeo this entire time, including during that urology exam. The crowd erupted in shock. Han continued. I was undercover. They hadn't revealed my identity yet. So I was mistakenly arrested and ended up in the same holding cell as Romeo. That's how I got to know him and the situation with his family. He glanced sharply at Christiana and James, who both immediately looked rattled. Before I was released, Romeo asked me to go to the shopping district first thing. He suspected his wife was cheating and wanted me to collect evidence. I never expected to walk into such chaos. When I arrived, the crash had already happened. Even if Romeo was released the moment I walked out, there's no way he could have beaten me there. Some still doubted Han, wondering if he was lying for me, but online viewers began recognizing him. Comment, wait, isn't that the guy who went undercover in a coal mine and exposed labor violations? Comment, yeah, he's the one who broke the story about food trucks using motor oil to cook. Comment, I know him. He's the reporter who infiltrated the pyramid scheme years ago. Even other victims at the scene gasped, thanking Han for the heroic work he'd done in the past. It should have been a moment of vindication for me, but my family, their faces turned dark and sour. The boutique manager scratched his head, puzzled, but I've got video too. It's real, I swear. Chapter 6. Although the others still didn't fully understand what was going on, they were all staring at reporter Han with puzzled expressions. That's when I finally spoke. I don't just have a witness, there's physical evidence too. The police officer came back with additional footage and technical reports. I asked the tech team to pull up security footage from the past few days. Romeo's been in custody the whole time. There's 24/7 surveillance. The only time he left was for the hospital visit, and I've already pulled external footage from that area. It clearly shows he never left the hospital grounds. James muttered under his breath. Who knows, maybe they're all on his payroll. The officer actually chuckled. Don't be ridiculous. If you suspect I've broken the law, feel free to report me anytime. But slandering law enforcement repeatedly, that's a crime too. He then led everyone to a screen and began fast-forwarding through footage of my daily routine over the past 5 days. When they saw that even my bathroom breaks lasted only a minute, and my showers no more than 3, the internet couldn't help but start cracking jokes. Comment, what, did Romeo teleport out during that 1-minute bathroom break to smash a luxury store? Comment, LMAO. Comment, no, he must have hit 200 kilometers per hour during his 3-minute shower. That bit of comic relief seemed to shift public opinion. Comment, we almost framed an innocent guy. I could tell by Romeo's face, he doesn't look like someone that twisted. Comment, yeah. And he's genuinely kind. Earlier when they were shoving and hitting him, he didn't even fight back. Christiana, reading the comments, looked more and more uneasy. Panic visibly crept into her expression. Then, to my amusement, she, James, and my mother all started trying to sneak away while the crowd was distracted. But after everything I'd endured, there was no way I'd just let them walk away. Mom, where are you going? And you, sweetheart, planning to elope with your new lover? Hearing me casually call out her relationship with James, Christiana nearly tripped on herself. She stammered. Why, you're talking nonsense. I raised my brows innocently. Am I? Didn't reporter Han just say that I asked him to help gather evidence because I suspected you were cheating? How else would he have ended up at the scene of the crash? The live stream viewership spiked as gossip-hungry users flooded in. Christiana, like a cat whose tail had been stepped on, instantly exploded. Don't try to change the subject. There's footage showing you clearly. We're talking about compensation here. Own up already. Even with all the evidence laid out, they refused to back down. They still wanted to destroy me. Then my mother chimed in. Romeo, I don't know how you pulled it off, but I was with you yesterday. You said you wanted to buy a watch, but when I saw the price, tens of thousands, I told you we couldn't afford it. That's when you snapped and started wrecking the display cases. Maybe it was your depression. Maybe you were hallucinating, imagining Christiana and James were cheating. James added meekly. Romeo, there's really nothing between Christiana and me. I let out a cold laugh. Everyone. I really didn't want to air out my dirty laundry in public. Sorry you had to witness this, but some things just can't be ignored. People looked at me in confusion. The car crash victim spoke up. Why not? Without warning, I grabbed James by the arm and yanked him into the center of the crowd. Because the one who actually trashed the luxury store, the one who raced through the city at 200 kilometers per hour and caused all those injuries, was James. Chapter 7. The crowd erupted. James's face went ghostly pale as he struggled to break free from my grip. What the hell are you talking about? My mother and Christiana rushed over, trying to pull James away from me. Romeo, I don't have a son like you. My love, I'll face this with you. Okay, just stop throwing mud on everyone else. Yeah, right, face it with me. Last lifetime, when I had no way to prove my innocence, Christiana pulled out the divorce papers she'd tricked me into signing long ago, and left me to take the fall alone. James tried to explain, panic creeping into his voice. Romeo, I get that you're upset about how close Christiana and I are, we grew up together. Sure, but I've told you over and over, there's nothing romantic going on. But no one was buying his act anymore. Online viewers had already caught on long ago. From the very start of the live stream, Christiana had been standing firmly by James's side, never once speaking up for me. The live stream comments rolled in. Comment, honestly, if I hadn't watched from the beginning, I'd totally think Christiana was James's wife. Comment, I'd bet anything these two have totally slept together, just look at how close their asses are. Even with her squatting a bit, Romeo's butt is practically in her face. Comment, ha ha ha. The commenter upstairs is Detective Sherlock Holmes. Christiana's expression grew uglier by the second. Even if James and I are close, it doesn't change the fact that you're the criminal here, Romeo. And don't act clueless. You really don't know why I didn't defend you. Look at me, do you know why I'm covered in bruises? Because you beat me. The crowd gasped, yet another shocking twist. Before I could respond, my mother, seething with rage, raised her hand to slap me. But reporter Han reacted faster and blocked her. What do you think you're doing? This is a police station. You seriously want to hit someone here? My mother shot him a glare. This is between me and my son. None of your damn business. The internet started buzzing again. Comment, if Romeo's truly innocent, why would his own wife and mother both turn on him? Comment, sounds like he really did it. Probably bribed the cop and this journalist. Now he's framing James. Sharp-eyed James chimed in like a pro-victim. Romeo, why are you doing this to me? Did you really buy off the officer and the reporter too? I didn't even have time to respond before other voices in the crowd chimed in. That's BS. I don't know this officer personally, but I trust he's doing his duty. Same for reporter Han. He's not the kind of guy you can bribe. Their words practically drowned James in a sea of spit. I looked at my mother, her shifty eyes darting, and asked bitterly, you know what I'd really like to know? You're my mother. So why were you so quick to claim it was me? The store footage didn't even show a clear face. You're the one who stood there yelling my name the whole time. You planted the idea in everyone's heads that it was me. She sneered. Because it was you. You can frame James all you want, but he doesn't even look like you. I ignored her and kept going. When I was a kid, I used to wonder, what kind of job keeps a mother so busy she only comes home once a year? I longed for even a sliver of maternal love. Other kids had moms waiting to pick them up after school, but not me. She tried to shut me down. Don't bring up that emotional nonsense. If you broke the law, I'm not going to cover for you. I nodded slowly. Now I finally get it. You weren't busy with work. You were out there with your other family. And James. James is your illegitimate son. Chapter 8. The entire crowd gasped. My mother's face turned ghostly pale. She pointed a trembling finger at me, stammering you, but couldn't get a full sentence out. Meanwhile, the live stream chat exploded. Comment, no way. Romeo's wife cheated with his mom's illegitimate son. Comment, well that explains why the mom was backing James so hard. James, voice shaky, raised the volume in panic. Don't listen to her. I don't even know this woman. But he instinctively stepped away from my mom, trying to put distance between them. I sneered. Come on, drop the act. You two showed up together. Who are you trying to fool? You've been taking turns pressuring me to confess since the beginning. People weren't stupid, they caught on fast. James, now cornered, lashed out wildly. The footage is clear. It's Romeo, not me. And I look nothing like him. Why are you blaming me? Besides, the hospital cameras only caught the outside. What if he bribed the doctors or the cops? The footage from the past 5 days was still playing on the screen, even though it had been sped up. Several hours were still left. The officer pointed to the screen. The boutique footage wasn't clear, but in custody, We've got multiple face-level surveillance angles of Romeo, every day. Or are you accusing us of tampering with jail security? His voice dropped lower, firmer, carrying a tinge of authority. Reporter Han frowned. So what? Now you're saying I got paid off too? You know the kind of corruption cases I've exposed. Do you know how many millions have been offered to silence me? How many threats to my family I've endured? But I've never compromised. What you're doing right now is insulting my character. James's frantic grasping didn't just offend the cop and Han, it also made the live stream audience tear him apart. Comment, dude's still flailing like a clown after all that evidence. Comment, he's obviously panicking. It was him, wasn't it? Comment, but real talk, James doesn't look anything like the guy in the footage. Comment, yeah, Romeo's actually good looking. James looks like a bitter gremlin. The internet didn't hold back, they roasted James's looks mercilessly, tearing him down like sharks in bloodied water. James finally snapped, screaming, "Are you all blind? What's so great about Romeo? That bastard. He's nothing compared to me. Christiana only ended up with him because I dumped her." His eyes were bloodshot as he glared at me with hatred. "Romeo, you should always be beneath me, under my heel where you belong." He kept ranting like a madman, even as Christiana and my mother tried to drag him back. He shook them off. Just as he was about to charge at me, the police officer moved lightning fast, grabbing James and pinning him to the ground with a lock. James snapped back to his senses and started whining. "Officer, why are you arresting me? I was just yelling. Yelling's not a crime." "Yelling is harassment," the officer said calmly, "but I'm not arresting you just for that." James howled in pain. "See, I knew it. You're all working with Romeo. This is just revenge for exposing the truth. You all saw it, the cops using force." At that point, with his affair and bastard status exposed, James gave up all pretense. He'd gone full meltdown mode, lashing out at anyone and everyone. A new wave of viewers poured into the live stream. Even internet influencers had arrived, tripods and ring lights in hand, ready to milk the drama. The first wave of streamers was already filming. "Hey everyone, today we're uncovering the real story behind the luxury store incident. Turns out James is both a homewrecker and an illegitimate son. So the big question is, would someone like him stoop to smashing up a store and ramming 20 cars? James tried to curse them out, told them to get lost, but the officer kept him pinned down. "Officer, what law did I break? Say it out loud." Another officer walked over and slapped a pair of handcuffs on him. Only then did the first cop speak coldly. "You seriously don't know what crime you've committed? And you've got the balls to show up at the police station to frame someone?" James shouted. "What are you talking about? I had nothing to do with the store. I don't even have a driver's license. How could I be the one behind the wheel?" The officer sneered. "Whatever method you used to disguise yourself as Romeo, we'll find out. But you really underestimated the police. You think we haven't heard of fingerprint tech?" Chapter 9. Even though your disguise was impressive, and your mom and Christiana played their roles well, your fingerprint test came back, and it's a perfect match. James still tried to wriggle out of it. "You're lying. It was Romeo wearing gloves with my prints on them." That kind of setup is totally possible, but no one at the scene was interested in listening to his excuses anymore. Once the officer held up the fingerprint report, the crowd surged toward James like a wave. "My son was injured in that crash. Pay our medical bills. I missed my job interview because of you. It was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. You wrecked the jewelry. Those pieces are unsellable now. You're paying for that." Even with police present, the sheer number of angry victims was too much to contain. James, still in handcuffs, was torn from the officer's grasp by a dozen hands. He screamed, begging for forgiveness, but his apologies were swallowed up by the roar of fury. Christiana and my mother, seeing the chaos, tried to quietly slip away, but I grabbed them both by the wrists. "What's the rush? James didn't pull this off alone. He needed your help." That sparked a new round of anger from the crowd. "Yeah, they're accomplices. Make them pay too. Make them pay." Now they were being swallowed by the mob. In the scuffle, someone yanked at James's shirt, tearing it open, and underneath was a hyper-realistic face mask. Everyone recoiled instinctively at the eerie sight. Reporter Han stepped forward and picked it up, examining it closely. "So this is how you impersonated Romeo? Impressive craftsmanship. Must have cost a fortune." James blurted out. "How do you know?" Then realized he'd basically confessed and clamped his mouth shut. Han replied coolly, "I was wrongly arrested while investigating this exact case. Turns out you're deeply entangled in a much bigger operation." James's final layer of denial collapsed. He completely broke down. His bloodshot eyes locked onto me, wild, manic, hateful. Tears and laughter mingled as he spiraled into madness. "If it weren't for you, I could have had Mom to myself. And Christiana, she and I grew up together, but because your dad had more money than mine, she left me and went after you. It's all your fault, Romeo. If you were dead, everything would have been mine. Looking at the deranged James, I felt nothing but pity. The mother I supposedly had only acted like one for a single year. Christiana may have been my wife in name, but she was sneaking around with James the entire time. All of this mess was created by those two women. Yet James dumped all his rage onto me, but I wasn't going to feel sorry for him. I stared at him coldly and said with a sneer, "You think your miserable life is my fault? You ruined yourself by pinning your happiness on two women. Let me tell you something. I divorced Christiana a long time ago. And guess what? She didn't marry you either, did she?" Christiana's eyes widened in shock. "Romeo, how did you know?" I chuckled. "In my last life, she tricked me into signing divorce papers right before everything blew up. But this time, I saw it coming. I'd rewritten the divorce terms." She walked away with nothing. And just like that, the whole circus came to an end. James was arrested and sentenced to death. The mountain of debt he owed fell onto his mother. She was forced to take grueling labor jobs to pay it off. And one night, working late on a construction site, she slipped and fell from a high floor. That was the tragic end of her pathetic, parasitic life. Christiana came looking for me a few more times after that. I never opened the door. The last time, she tried to climb a tree and sneak through my window, but lost her footing and fell. She ended up in a coma, now spending the rest of her days as a living corpse, rotting slowly in a hospital bed. As for me, I sold the house, left that cursed place behind, and finally, started a new chapter.